welcome to the Jesu Otaku anime review. I'm glad I get to finally just sit down, relax, and enjoy a good old-fashioned romance this week. I mean, for as much action and sci-fi as I go through, which I do enjoy, there's nothing like a nice little love story, boy meets girl, to remind you what's really important in this world. You know, that true love can transcend all boundaries of culture, of creed, and even... Oh, hell no!
It's spring right now. Shouldn't that mean something to me?
Koshiro Saeki lives a cruel life of irony. He works day to day as a wedding organizer, but has never been in love himself, and not for lack of trying. His latest unsuccessful relationship just ended, with his girlfriend of 2 years telling him he's a cold, boring sad sack, and she's found someone else. The saddest part of all is that Koshiro can't bring himself to care. Fate intervenes, however, when he runs into a crying girl on the train, Nanoka Kohinata. She's 12 years younger than him, at a very different place in life, but is torn up over finally being rejected by a boy she loved in secret for many years. In a serendipitous turn, they end up going to an amusement park together and feel like they have an instant connection that can't quite be put into words. Koshiro doesn't realize it yet, but he's finally falling in love, for real. And unfortunately, his cruel life of irony has only just begun, not only for him, but for Nanoka as well. As the closer they get, the more it becomes clear that they can never be together. That's not all there is to the story by a long shot, but I'm not really ready to talk about that just yet, so let's cover the boring old production-y stuff instead. Yeah, let's do that. On the technical side of things, do you know who Studio, ACTG is? Yeah, neither do I. They produce this little piece of work and have a small handful of titles to their name, pretty much one a year. If I can find a commonality between their projects, it's that they have a niche focus on human condition stories, typically made for a mature audience, like Human Crossing, Kino's Journey, and now Kaze. As such, the palette here is really subdued, lots of watercolors, the animation is minimal. At the same time, they don't cut corners either. Motion is fluid, elegant, and highly nuanced where it needs to be, but it doesn't lapse into crazy overreactions or slapstick at any point either. Visually speaking, you can kinda tell by looking at it that Kaze is attempting a highbrow tone. The music in Kaze is much the same, restrained, elegant, and heartbreakingly beautiful. That being said, I'm actually gonna have to complain about how the music is used in the show more than I want to. Hear this piano piece? It's really nice, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, they use that same piece over and over and over in the story, to the extent it becomes noticeable when it would pop up, kind of like how people got sick of the otherwise gorgeous music in Eyes Wide Shut or Requiem for a Dream solely from overuse. Yeah, it's just like that. I assume it's meant to be thematic, but you know, there were lots of other really pretty selections in the soundtrack. You could vary it up a bit, guys. I want to say nothing but good things about the music, so for crying out loud, play something else!
We want something else! We want something else! We want something else!
Outside of the one piano piece abuse, terrific soundtrack. For the voice acting, I hate to be a broken record, but hey, uniformity is a typical sign of a good show, so consider it a compliment when I say the performances are subdued, nuanced, and naturalistic here, both in Japanese and the English dub. It's not perfect, as the hushed tone all around can make the performances feel perpetually whispery and wooden during some monologues, but it's certainly a quality dub job, considering the subject matter. Seasoned VAs Patrick Seitz and Stephanie Shea do a great job as the main couple, and getting back to that subject matter, I kinda wish I didn't recognize them as these characters, because the whole love story is, okay. This show is about, This show is about, Hey everybody, meet Dorcas Aurelia. Say hello to the nice viewers, DA. You see, Dorcas Aurelia here is an awesome fan of the show, but on top of that, he's one of the very first fans. Back when I started on YouTube, he was one of that little group of 20 or so that actually watched my stuff, and on top of that, he offered helpful criticism. He's continued to support me, my D2 Brigade compatriots, and the Tig producers throughout the years, and I even met and hung out with the guy at Anime Central. He's a pretty awesome dude. However, he made me watch Kaze, and for that, he shall be torn apart by rabid dogs. That's the level we've reached here, folks. We are looking up at the bottom of the barrel. The tragic lovers in this story...
Oh,
Dad.
hey, Pop. Huh?
What luck! You're here too, Koshiro. It's been a long time since the two of you have seen each other. Did you recognize each other from the get-go? What's the matter with you two? Come on, let's get going.
They're a long-lost pair of siblings. Brother and sister. This story is about incest. Now, right away, I've told a pretty large number of you that you are never watching this show, regardless of how good or bad it is. I've also told a smaller number of you that you are absolutely watching this show, no matter how good or bad it is. I delayed informing you of the real premise here because that's exactly what the anime does, too. The title alone doesn't imply incest in any way, and neither does the entire first episode, until that last 2 seconds that leave you only one reactionary option. Oh, hell no! Now, for those of you who don't know, there is sadly no shortage of incest fetish anime crawling around in Japan. Yes, it's low-budget, desperate filth made by low-end studios, and most Japanese people think it's horrendous too, but still, several series make it to broadcast, so the fact remains that Japan just doesn't have the issues with the subject that we do in the West. Those issues being, no, do not want. They're fine with exploiting it, basically. But if you weren't one of those people who heard the twist here and said, not a snowball's chance, lady, I have to immediately defend Kaze on almost every level. It doesn't exploit a sister complex fetish, it doesn't even attempt it. The positive side of the coin here is that Japan is equally at ease addressing the idea of incestual attraction seriously. Why would this happen, what would result from it, and how can we make it engaging or even sympathetic? That's what Kaze does, and it does this incredibly well. I mentioned earlier how restrained and mature the production elements were throughout and how uniform the tone was earlier, and that's the biggest saving grace here that I don't have much more to add to. So instead I'll focus on 3 little things that Kaze does right in addressing incest that the fetish shows do wrong in a squeaky attempt to make the concept sexy, which again does not seem to be a goal for Kaze, a first step in the right direction. 1. The brother and sister are, biologically, brother and sister. For those of you scratching your heads at this, I lament to inform you that the grand majority of incest fan service shows feature adopted siblings, half-siblings, or siblings that find out later they aren't related, to make the whole thing legally okay and verboten only on a psychological level, and therefore sexier. Adding further credence to the idea that the only people who find incest forbidden type sexy are guys that don't actually have sisters. Seriously. Kaze doesn't cop out. The lovebirds here are older brother, younger sister, and attracted to one another. Let the awkwardness sink in. Yes, it's horrible, but at least it's honest to the premise it gave us and taking itself seriously. 2. The fraternal lovers were raised apart. This is also kinda awful, but makes sense for the same reasons I mentioned earlier. Typical incest play anime does the reverse. The adopted brother and sister are raised together, and the sexual relationship is based off of, "Aw, but we used to bathe together when we were little" kind of shit. Usually from the clueless sister taking advantage of the less clueless but weak-willed brother, which assumes the characters, and therefore writers, know nothing about sexual psychology, pandering so hard as to beg the question of why they didn't just make a hentai instead. By contrast, a pair of siblings that don't remember their childhood together, falling in love later in life, is not only possible, it's freakishly plausible according to various sociological studies. Look up the Westermarck effect and genetic sexual attraction. It's unsettling, but it lends Kaze's approach to the topic more credibility. 3. Those incest rom-coms are fan service shows, so naturally they try to make their leads attractive, even on god-awful budgets. Glossy-lipped Lolitas or busty big sisters flash their panties for the cute little self-insertion brother character. Koi Kaze matches a reasonably sweet-looking high school girl with a non-accentuated figure with a totally bland-looking burly guy in his mid-20s. They're not idealized and fetishized portraits, they're plausibly designed characters. Furthermore, they're unusual even by anime lead standards and how average they look. And the fan service count for this show? Absolute 0. Nanoka here is sexualized even less than the girls in Kyo Annie or Key shows, which already go out of their way to make innocents subversively sexy, but still slip up now and again to reveal their true intentions. Koi Kaze does neither of these. It's not trying to get the viewers to drool over the sister character or fall in love with her, it's just kind of showing you why the brother fell in love with her. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point. So after all those accolades, this must be a total masterpiece of psychological melodrama and heightened romance, right? Well, it could have been. Yeah, I can't help but applaud Koi Kaze for skating near perfect tens across the thinnest ice possible, but it also blows the finishing pose in its routine, and unfairly or not, that always leaves a sour final impression for the judges, namely me. Without spoiling anything, the creators here worked so hard on exploring the logistics of an ancestral relationship and development that by the time it's reached a stable plateau, they go, uh-oh, now what? Does the relationship go sour? Does the couple become a pariah? What about their parents? What if they end up conceiving? I don't want to think about that. I could see why they wouldn't too, but still, they're obligated to. And by ultimately not committing to long-term answers, they over-romanticize the whole ordeal. The absolute worst thing to do, much less to end on, especially when they've come this far not doing so. It barely prevents me from calling this a real landmark and exploring ancestral romance. I can't believe I had to say that sentence. But it's the best attempt I've ever seen in any medium, so that at least deserves some praise. I think. I also think I need a bath. Koi Kaze was originally released by Geneon, so it's out of print, but not real difficult to find, particularly if you don't mind used copies. The original manga by Moto Yoshida was not released stateside, but from what I've heard, they're nearly identical, in case you were curious as to which handled the subject matter better or something. All in all, I don't know what to say. I'm not a fan of this premise, and I think it could be argued that this is trying to pull a incest is okay message in lieu of an incest is sexy message because of the non-committal ending alone. But up to that point, Koi Kaze deals with the issue of a brother-sister falling in love in an incredibly distinguished fashion. It's compelling, it's convincing, it's sympathetic and understandable, so if you're okay with the concept at all, I would recommend this, but only just barely, mostly because when it comes to addressing the long-term consequences, they completely chicken out. Very frustrating when they had done so well in addressing all the short-term ones. I give Koi Kaze 2.5 brain-breakingly awkward moments.
Just being nice? Are you insane? Think about it. You don't really know what his motives are.
That's disgusting. The only one who sees it that way is you.
God, you idiot. You have to learn to be more careful.
I already am careful.
You're not.
Why are you acting like you know everything?
Because you're so pretty.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what I think. All I meant was that from an objective point of view...
But I get why you fawn over her. She looks up to you so much. And she's adorable, I know. Plus, I've seen the way she looks at you sometimes. It's as if you were some sort of prince and not just her brother.
Twinkling those little eyes of hers whenever you're around. Did you make a move on her?
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Out of 4 incest romance shows. I mean, honestly, is there anything people won't send me? I mean, okay, I did promise to review donations, but still, can I get a nice donation? Something pretty and... Oh, a present! Oh, and it's gift wrapped and it's so cute. Oh, aren't you real precious? I wonder who's it from. No need to thank me. Your whimpering will be thanks enough.